They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying.
Emotional damage.
Hey everybody, Big Jason. I'm here with Mark Goldman, my friend and email deliverability expert. How's it going, Mark?
Hey, Jason, it's going great, man. I love the emotional damage.
Yeah, it seems like more and more emotional damage is happening to marketers across the web about deliverability. So we're going to be talking about, the three biggest deliverability poisons and how to neutralize them. Why don't you give a brief intro about your experience with email deliverability?
Sure thing. So that's me there. I was in a suit and tie then, which you won't find very often. Usually I'm in t-shirt style, but I've done 20 plus years running multiple email companies. We've run ESPs, SMTP companies. I was just telling Jason before the call, if you haven't actually dug into a server and looked at SMTP logs, I don't think it's fair to call yourself a deliverability expert, but what do I know? We've had one singular focus that whole time, and that's to help all my email marketer clients make as much money as humanly possible off of their huge lists. So if you've been watching your list grow and your revenue shrink, I think you're going to like what we talk about today. I'm going to talk about every single secret that I actually share with these millionaire clients to help them dig out those massive profits from their email list. And a lot of it has to do with removing the list poisons. Jason talks about 3 in the beginning. I actually talk about 7. We could expand it beyond that, but let's keep it simple today and just talk about 7. But that's the main thing that I do. It's come from years ago, from like 2003, 2004. I was helping some of my clients win affiliate contests when they were getting kicked off of every ESP imaginable. I would take them on, bring them on, put them on my own servers, dig into the delivery logs, make all the changes that were needed. And now everybody, all they talk about is Gmail. And fine, Gmail is 70 to 80% of your list, but there's so much gold in those that other 30 to 40%. I don't think you should throw it away.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I see a lot of alleged deliverability experts that literally they refuse to take anybody from Hotmail. Like, oh, it's Hotmail's fault. It's not my fault.
Right, and all that means is that they just, not to be rude or anything, but they kind of suck at that deliverability method. And there are legitimate clients on there using Hotmail, even if you're using Office 365, which is Microsoft's their version of what is it? Gmail, G apps, Google apps, right? Office 365. That's like an art form in itself, and literally the people on that are it's gold because it's all corporate people who have Office 365 installed at their multi-billion or $1 million company, and it's really worth learning those things and getting into them.
Yeah, and one more thing before you move on. Another thing these alleged deliverability experts either don't realize or don't want you to think about is that everybody that uses Gmail, not all of them use actual Gmail to check their Gmail. They use other apps to check their Gmail.
That's quite true. I actually have my Gmail running through Thunderbird. I told you before I'm a Linux nerd.
Yep.
So I have Thunderbird set up. I don't want to go to Gmail. I don't ever want to install any Google apps. I mean,
Yep.
fine. Every time you connect to Google, it doesn't matter. They know what you're going through. But I have it running through Thunderbird, and that doesn't count as a Gmail open or click necessarily.
Yeah, you can actually check your Gmail through Apple.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a client that's what they do right now.
Yeah, and that's another thing entirely. How many people told you a year ago that Apple stopped the check-in opens on iOS devices? So, these are little things to look for when you're evaluating anyone who says that they're a deliverability expert. Ask them some things like that, and well, don't give it away, but ask them some things. Ask them what they can do beyond Gmail. Not that getting into the Gmail inbox is awesome. If you do that, you're on your way, but there's so much money to be made in other. I even have people who really don't even care about Gmail or Hotmail or anything like that. They want to get into people with addresses on cable providers. So like optimum.net, Shaw, things like that. And literally there's gold in them Dar Hills too. So people don't
Yep.
realize that. Right on. So a tiny sample we're going to talk about tonight is the top 7 list poisons and how they're wreaking havoc on your reputation and your ability to deliver email properly. The absolute worst type of email that you're mailing that's killing your Gmail delivery. And yes, you do have those on your list right now. We're going to talk about that. And I bet you those experts aren't going to. And how to intelligently include acquired lists in your email marketing efforts. Yes, I'm going to say something super controversial with that. It's the kind of thing that nobody says, and it is actually doable. And if you think that those people who are telling you not to do it aren't, you're wrong. And if you think that multi-million-dollar corporations are not doing it, you're wrong. And how this one poison indicates that your email deserves the spam folder at best, and at worst can lead to getting kicked off your ESP. And then finally, we're going to cover my drop dead easy 3-step formula to easily draw these poisons out of your list and start immediately experiencing massive increases in open rates, click-throughs, and ROI. We're going to talk about a lot more too.
Awesome.
So be sure to stick around to the end of the presentation because I'm going to give away an email consultant package worth over 10 grand to one lucky attendee. So stick around. And yeah, that is courtesy of Jason Fladleen, the webinar expert, who definitely, is somebody that you should learn from when it comes to webinars. I want you guys to stick around. We're going to teach a lot today. And in order to do that, I'm going to incentivize you. I'm definitely going to give away something really worthwhile.
And you're going to be taking questions too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not
Awesome.
one of those guys that just learns your webinar and can't really answer the questions. So yeah.
Right. And then just FYI, some of your slides, they're getting chopped off on the top.
I know, I see that. I don't know what happened. I use Linux, which is weird, and this is I try to save it in PowerPoint, which helps people when I share this webinar with them. So I'm sorry about that.
No worries. Again, if you want, you can get out of this and I can just zoom in. It's up to you.
Sure, if that'll make it easier for people, maybe we'll do that.
Okay.
So, we seeing that?
Let me. Yes.
Okay. So, email marketing is a roughly $14 billion per year revenue generator. At least it was in 2018. And according to Transparency Market Research, the market for email marketing is going to reach $22 billion in 2025. So the industry actually has an expected annual growth rate of a little under 20%, about 19.6 to be exact. So people who tell you email's dead, they don't know what they're talking about. Wow, it's still cut off in here too. I apologize for that. And this says email marketing facts. Now, email outperforms any other digital media platform. That includes social media, pay-per-click, and affiliate marketing in terms of ROI and effectiveness. This slide was since 2017, but it's still viable today. Why optimizing email marketing matters in 2017. And it basically shows you how email is still crushing all of those other mediums. And we're continuing on those email marketing facts. Email marketing has huge benefits to marketers. Cover a couple of them, but I think most people on here know them already. Generating more leads, improving sales, improving conversion rates, reducing your marketing spend, identifying better quality leads, and using other media to boost response, right? So it helps you actually connect to other things. And then it shortens your sales cycle. So there's really a lot to it. So sounds great. What's the problem? So if you're like most other marketers, almost 99.999% of them, your lists are actually full of poisons that are destroying your potential share of this massive market. So yes, those previous slides covered everything that was great about it. But if your lists are full of these poisons, they're wreaking absolute destruction on your email marketing business and cutting into your potential to profit. So here's some painful email marketing facts. If your lists are full of these poisons, like I just said, you're leaving tons of money on the table. And you run the risk of getting kicked off your ESP or SMTP service. And you'll notice that if that's happened to you, you've probably never been told. They don't even want to talk to you. They just kick you off. So you don't want to, you got to get these poisons off so that you can stay in their good graces. Unfortunately, that is what it's come down to in this day and age. And you lose any edge you may have had over your competition. If you're at a super competitive market, you don't want to risk losing that market position and money that you've worked so hard to attain. And when your delivery goes into the dumpster, you're in a bad reputation that's hard to repair. And unfortunately, in the industry, people actually share information. I'm in a number of industry organizations and groups where they talk about you guys. I'm sorry to be the bearer of that, but it's quite true. There are people who share the naughty list, and the naughty list, just like you don't want to be on Santa's naughty list, you do not want to be on the ESP and SMTP providers naughty lists. So when I teach you these 7 deadly poisons, we're going to go through each one of them, and hopefully you're going to be able to use to get them off your list and stay in the good graces of your ESPs and SMTP providers. So the first deadly poison is what I call dormant accounts. And what are they? These are email addresses at the top mailbox providers. Now, when I say that, that means Gmail, Yahoo, believe it or not, still AOL, and even Microsoft, right? These used to be good, valid email addresses, but then they got abandoned by their owner, probably because the person signed up for one too many lists. They got bombarded with spam and they moved on because it's just too easy to move on when you have a free email. So Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, and Microsoft reactivate those old dormant accounts with the express purpose of catching email marketers who've been lazy. They haven't removed them from their lists after being warned for 6 months to do so. Yes, it's a sneaky practice, but it's what they're doing to protect their property and to catch you and your bad hygiene habits. So sending marketing emails to dormant accounts is probably one of the worst things you can do for your delivery at these big 4 mailbox providers. So how dangerous are these dormant accounts? I consider them to be a red level poison. These can ruin your Gmail reputation, especially, and land you in the spam folder permanently, or worse again, black hole. And trust me, they're going to reach out, not personally. It's not like somebody at Gmail is watching all this stuff, but there's something called a feedback loop where they can talk to the ESP and send them automatic artificial intelligence notices, letting them know that your messages are not getting through. And if you're on a shared system, most ESPs are a shared system, then you're going to find out that they don't want you on there because I don't care what amount of money you're spending, you're not spending as much as their total number of clients. And you could actually damage the delivery for their entire client base. And let's talk about the second deadly poison, which is what's called spam traps. So what are spam traps? These are email addresses created for the purpose of catching people who send unsolicited emails. So these never opt in. Now there's a caveat to that, and I'll get to it in a second. They never opt in to receive emails, and they're almost always added through using third-party rented or purchased lists. Right now, that sounds contradictory to when I said you could use acquired lists, but again, I'll get to that. Mailing spam traps immediately indicates that you're using third-party lists and pretty much drives your delivery into the toilet. So how dangerous are they? We put them at a red level poison. They can ruin your entire email reputation, get you blacklisted, and get you kicked off of your ESP. Spam traps and dormant accounts are probably your 2 worst, with the third one being invalid emails. And what are those? Those are emails that don't exist. They either used to and are now abandoned addresses, example, a bounce, or they're made up emails inserted in your list by malicious users and freebie seekers, and they can't be delivered to. So, people talk all the time about a lead magnet, and they tell you, marketers will tell you that you have to set up a landing page. Totally agree with that. Awesome practice. Been doing it for years myself. But you have to know that unless you're setting some process up in the beginning to validate those emails that are signing up for your lead magnet, then you are going to end up with people who they think that they can put in some crap junk emails just to get what's on the other side of the wall, right? You've put up this wall of access in the form of providing an email address, and they are going to put in crap thinking that they can bypass that, get what you want, and they know what you're going to do. You're going to send them emails trying to promote something. So, but by continuing to mail that, this will do serious damage to your reputation as a respected email marketer. Now, how dangerous are they? As you can see, we put them at yellow level poison. Mailing those can cause mailbox providers to slow down your delivery, which can affect your time-sensitive emails. So they're not going to blacklist you. They're not going to get rid of you unless a large percentage of your list is invalid emails. But what they are going to do is they're going to slow down your delivery. Now, you may be saying, I'm not in control of my delivery. My ESP is. Well, pardon me. That's true. But each individual email email sender is identified by their domain name and other things that fingerprint them in their emails. And things have gotten so sophisticated with artificial intelligence that mailbox providers can slow down delivery on a per user basis. Sometimes, however, that they can slow down delivery for the whole ESP. And if they get enough complaints, well, this could move to a red level poison and get you kicked off. Then let's talk about.
I had a
Go
quick
ahead, Jason,
question.
please.
Yeah, can you go back to the other slide?
Sure.
Yeah, so most ESPs have bounce handling in place. Some, really strict, some not so strict. If Do you feel like it's a good idea to be always monitoring your welcome sequence and like, oh my gosh, this month my bounces spiked by 50%, and then that might lead to you to be like, oh, my lead gen needs to be optimized?
Absolutely. It's always a good idea to keep track of all those things. And if you don't, I can tell you your ESP will. And I know some really tight ones like MailerLite they'll kick you off. I mean, the thresholds of bounces they're really low. So again, I put it at a yellow level poison, but it could technically be red to some of these providers because it's basically their business model that you're affecting. So yes, I definitely say keep track of that stuff. It's good advice. And if you can, and we'll talk about it later, try to put a method in place to, at the point of opt-in, validate the email right there. If you can do that, you are going to be the golden child at any ESP that you go to, and you're going to be able to enjoy top tiers of delivery at some of the best ESPs that are out there.
Cool.
Now let's talk about typo domains. Now, typo domains are emails with mistakes in the spellings of the domain. So examples include gmail.com, hotmail.com, and mailing them indicates you care very little about your sender reputation. So Jason was quite prescient in asking me that question because it's kind of answering it right here. As such, you'll get rewarded with the spam folder at best, or your email will never see the light of the day unless you get kicked off your ESP first, which might be, a grace and a mercy that you'll get. So someone could very innocently type in joe@gmail.com, right? And you might say, okay, well, if I put this validation method in place on my landing page where we look for and we tell them, because I've seen scripts like this, right, that say, did you mean joe@gmail.com? And the person might say, no, I didn't. Or they might be presented, they might actually be putting these typo domains in there on purpose because these typo domains are actually set up oftentimes by either Gmail and Hotmail themselves to catch people who don't really care about their hygiene, and or anti-spam companies. These are people who run organizations that's job is to basically catch people with poor sending practices. And if you don't have something in place that recognizes these typo domains are actually something that should never be mailed, then you're going to be in trouble. So make sure if you're going to use some validation practice on your landing pages and such, on your opt-in forms, that it can catch these typo domains. It's very important.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I literally had a recent client about 2 months ago. If people think like, come on, everybody knows how to spell Gmail. My client, which had probably like 75% was an older demographic. They literally had 100 plus misspellings not month, every week.
Wow.
And so what you're saying, definitely agree. It's how important it is for deliverability, but you have to have, as a email marketing revenue optimization specialist, you have to also consider how much that's affecting your customers who are not getting their receipts and their access details and all that.
Absolutely. I think validation at the point of, on a form, especially, I mean, you just talked about it on a transactional form, on a shopping cart order form. People oftentimes they're in a hurry to get it. It was Black Friday. I'm sure there's endless typos on Black Friday orders because people are scrambling to get their information. Although this year I've heard that there isn't that much scrambling, but I don't actually believe that because I've seen tons of online results to prove differently. But the point is, if you don't validate at those important points, you could fail to send a transactional receipt, which can cause your chargebacks to go through the roof. People say I didn't receive my product or a receipt about it, and if your customer support, if they're lazy or they don't care, or they're in a hurry, or they are just impatient, they could just call their bank and do a dispute. That's an extreme example, but it's actually stuff I've seen happen in my consulting practice, where because people did not have this validation in their transactional stuff. We're talking about marketing here. Transactional is super important too. So you've got to have this at every stage of your business. If you're running it and you're actually selling stuff, or you're collecting information on a form where you could be getting people into a sequence and start mailing them immediately, this stuff is super important to get right. And especially if the demographic, like Jason said, is older, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
Obviously, younger people, they're born typing, but not the older folks.
No, for probably like 4 months ago, I literally had this issue because on accident, one time in Chrome, I spelled my email at gmail.com with 2 zeros. So every time I was making an order, that email was going in there, and I didn't notice it. It's COOM. And so I was like so frustrated. And what people don't realize is that just like spam is in the eye of the beholder. Oh, I'm not spamming any. If they think you're spamming, you're spamming. And same thing, you're going to be like, well, they misspelled their email. The customer doesn't care. They didn't get their transaction. They didn't get their product that they ordered.
That's right. So how dangerous are they? I think people have seen this already, probably in Reddit since we've been talking, but they can cause providers to send all your email to the spam folder, and if it causes enough trouble for your ASP, they'll send you packing. Deadly poison number 5, role accounts. Now, people used to talk about this a lot more than they did in the past than they do now, but they are actually still important. Role accounts are emails like webmaster at, abuse at, and admin at. Now, if you're in more of a B2B marketing, this is going to be super important for you. If you're in B2C, you're going to have very little of this, but it could still actually be there. But these are normally never used for personal or business email. Many times, the person or persons who check these accounts have no qualms complaining about your email, right? And it was actually checked by multiple people usually. And while they aren't as deadly as the previous 4 poisons, insisting on mailing them drives your reputation down and probably ends you up on a watch list at your ESP, which is kind of like being on, I guess, like an FBI watch list, because they want your money still, but they're like, yeah, this person's practices are questionable at best. So we put them at a blue danger level. They can affect your email reputation. And some ESPs may suspend your account. Most won't. Some will probably reach out to you and talk to you about it. I'd probably, frankly, if you're not in B2B mailing, I would get rid of these off your list. Now, our poison number 6 is a super interesting one, serial complainers. And what are serial complainers? They're kind of like serial killers. They keep doing the same bad thing over and over again. They're well known for only complaining about the commercial email they receive. Now, when I say only complaining, that's not all they do. They're actually hyper responsive people, which as a marketer means it's a judgment call on whether to remove them. These are often some of the most active people on a list. But being able to identify them empowers you to make a judgment call on whether or not to remove them from your list. Now, how dangerous are these serial complainers? Well, mailing them is a judgment call. They're often your most engaged subscribers. It actually helps delivery, obviously, to have more people engage in your emails that you send. But if you have enough of them in your list and they make enough noise and some of them scream really loud, your mails will probably fluctuate from the inbox to the spam, depending on the mailbox provider that we are talking about here. Some ESPs may suspend your account unless you remove these people or they'll cancel you. I actually have clients who spend all their time building lists of complainers and suppressing them, which is an interesting practice, right? I'm saying that these are your sometimes your most hyper responsive clients or hyper responsive list members, but how worth it is it to you to have them on there? So they're going to probably open and click every email, and they're also going to hit this is spam. If they can unsubscribe, it's great. A lot of times I advise one of my clients in the past to move their unsubscribe link to the top of their email or to insert another one at the top of their email. And it actually really reduced complaints dramatically. So the things you could do to manage them, that's why we put them in a green level. But they are important to identify. And the seventh deadly poison is one you've probably not thought of in regard to this, but it's bots. Now, we've been hearing a lot about bots as it applies to social media, and Elon Musk saying that bots are a huge problem on Twitter. Who knows how many accounts in social media are actually not humans. There's some interesting memes that are out there that show when a narrative or a particular news story is going out, there are actually programmed social media accounts that can parrot the same narrative that a specific entity, political group, corporation, whatever the case is, they could actually put that message out there. And if you don't know that they're bots, these are actually intelligent artificial intelligence. They're intelligent enough to get the message out there. They have followers and they can really affect your social media reach. They could actually do pretty good damage in email as well. So these are robots that are added to your list simply to waste your time. They artificially inflate your click numbers and provide you no value. If you have advertisers on your list, they could certainly upset them. They could upset your list partners. For instance, if you got joint venture and affiliate marketing and you're driving traffic, it's going to drive down PPC and eCPM. And then these are never going to become a lead or buyer. So all they're doing is inflating click numbers without providing any proper conversion metrics. So that really takes up valuable space that could be filled with high quality prospects. I definitely say to draw out that poison from your list immediately. We put them bots at a red level. They throw off your click numbers. They can make it seem as if your campaigns are successful when they in fact are not. Now, this is why they cause affiliate networks, JV partners to be upset with you, and you could lose relationships and revenue. That alone is damaging. Yeah, go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, it's interesting. Can you go back to the last slide? When iOS 15 and all that Apple open tracking came out, you had all the alleged deliverability experts, guessing, and some even said, "Hey, join my memberships to learn my guesses." And one of the things after it came out is that now they say, "Oh well, open rates never mattered anyways. You just have to rely on click numbers." And I'm just like, no, you can't just rely on click numbers, because especially you've been talking about paid traffic. That's where I've seen most the lists with the biggest amount of bots is paid traffic, because you got people using bots to spy on you and they're opting into your list.
Absolutely. This is a big problem with people who buy solo ads. I'm not knocking that business. It's a questionable model, in my opinion, but there are people that we both know who've been successful with it. But 9 times out of 10, the numbers you're getting are inflated. You're not getting fully real clicks. So it's near impossible. They're mailing every day, and everything is great. I doubt it highly. So, what are the results of having one or more of these poisons on your email lists? So, they could drive your business straight into the grave. That might seem a little over dramatic, but I've actually seen it happen. So, that's why I put it on there. And I stand by what I'm saying here. These really can affect your business dramatically. Sometimes I've seen people have to start over completely, new brand, new actual mailing address, physical mailing address, that sort of thing. All those things take time. Hopefully you are building templates and not just sending out text-based emails anymore, with a logo and a header and a privacy policy at the bottom. And if you're doing all those things, you're going to have to change all of that, because all those have been fingerprinted and then associated with your bad practices in the past. So it takes time. Can you rebuild? Yes, but it does take time. So it sounds terrible. What's the solution? So here's that drop dead easy solution that I did promise you. I have been working on a fix for this for my clients for over 10 years. I've used just about every different list hygiene solution in the past to discover exactly what they look for, what they do right and what they do wrong. And I've spent tons of money and time learning everything I can about how to identify these poisons and, most importantly, draw them off your list. So I went to developers that I had. One guy that I've been working with since 2014, who he and I just have a fantastic relationship, and it's hard to build that with developers. Jason could probably tell you it's really like herding cats sometimes to control developers. Build me a 3-step system that even my dear departed mother could use. A simple drag and drop interface. All you got to do is upload your list, let the software do all the hard work to clean, verify, and validate your list. Download that list and import it to any email service provider. As a matter of fact, we've actually, since the time that this was first made, we've actually automated that with 2 email service providers, Infusionsoft and ActiveCampaign. And it's really quite easy and retains all your tagging and everything, and actually automates all the stuff for you. So we call it Clean 13. And what does it do? We take your old, underperforming, dirty email lists that run you the risk of getting kicked off of your ESP into a new squeaky clean list made up of only valid and, most importantly, engaged users, right? So you could have all the valid lists you want. If you don't have people who are actually opening, as Jason just said, and clicking, then you're not really going to be getting much results. It keeps you in good standing with your ESP, and it actually gets you monster deliverability improvements, right? So where's the proof in that? That's just me saying it, right? Well, I'll give this to you for proof. A client came to us unable to get into the inbox at Yahoo and a number of cable providers. And yes, it does matter. So we encourage them to scrub their list using Clean. Now, I want you to check the before and after images on the next screens to see that difference in delivery. So this is before Clean 13, right? We had 48% inbox. This is overall, 31% bulk, and 21% just went into a black hole. Nobody could do it. Let's take a look. So they were hitting the inbox at AOL, hitting the inbox at Gmail, pretty good, right? 100% of the bulk or spam folder at Hotmail, and 94% at Yahoo. Then we look at some of their cable providers like AT&T, Bell South, CenturyLink, Charter, Comcast, and Earthlink. So they were getting inbox, some of them, getting to the spam folder at others, and just totally disappearing in others. Now let's take a look. This is after Clean 13. That's what it says up here. I apologize for it being cut off. 71% inbox. Let's go back and look at that. 48 to 71% inbox. We went for the bulk 19, so it was at 31% in the spam folder, went down to that 19%. And those missing in action folks went down from 21% to 10. So we had inbox at AOL, Gmail, still in the spam folder at Hotmail, and 100% inbox at Yahoo, and then 100% at all these cable providers. So that's a super stark and drastic improvement. And yes, it was totally related to just cleaning their list. And let's analyze the results. The client was able to increase their inbox placement at Yahoo by 94%, with a total, This is on their list. 97,498 Yahoo subscribers. That's why it was so important. And that's why it's super important to understand the metrics of your list and what your list is made up of. People talk about all the time, Gmail only, Gmail only. I'm telling you, there's gold in those other providers. So you got to take a look at that. Next week, that means that their email list actually increased. Imagine this, in 1 week, their list grew by 97,000 people who weren't previously receiving their emails. It's like getting an injection of an entire new list. So getting back in the Yahoo inbox alone produced a 20% increase in inbox delivery.
Wow.
So this client was able to get off of 4, with our help, major third-party anti-spam blacklists, all of whom, prior to Clean 13, had refused to delist them. So this is really important. A lot of people don't know this, but these are the nuances that come from 20 plus years in this business. You've got to be able to work with these people instead of, just trusting your ESP. A lot of times with your ESP, you don't get access to this information. So this information comes more to people who run through SMTP providers or who have their own, they're using Interspire or MailWiz or one of the million other GMAS, and they can actually see some of the logs and they know where they're being blocked. And then getting them to remove you from those blacklists will 9 times out of 10 help you inbox at other places. So they started to inbox at these major cable providers after this scrub is an industry term for cleaning their list. And overall 32% increase in total inbox delivery. Now, how does that translate into cold hard cash? Because all those numbers are fine, but if you're a marketer and a business person, you want to know the bottom line. Now let's just play a little game and assume that you were sending a $47 offer to that Yahoo segment of your list. And let's assume conversions are just a meager 1%, right? That's not too hard to ask for, 1%. Let's assume that pre-cleaning your list, you were only inboxing 5,753 subscribers. And finally, after cleaning, you actually inbox 97,000 subscribers. So before Clean 13, only 5,753 inboxed, 97,000 inbox then. Let's assume a 1% conversion on this 5753, 57 sales. Now I know you could get into nuances and say that doesn't mean that they're going to open or click. Just bear with me for a second, right? And 1% conversion on this could be 974 sales. On a $47 product, 57 sales would be $2,600. And 974 sales of a $47 product would be $45,000. Now, fine, that's me extrapolating. Those results are not going to be typical. And it really assumes that you are getting the message out to them. But remember, this is only Yahoo we're talking about here. It's only Yahoo. So those numbers are just talking about one particular domain. And you've got an entire list with other domains on there. And you got to ask yourself, would you rather have 57 sales or 974? Would you rather bank $2,600 or $45,778? But if you continued to mail that poor, tired, and dirty list, you'd probably be leaving, in this particular case, $43,000 or more on the table every single week. So let's show some other examples and evidence of us helping our clients over and over again. So this gentleman says after Clean 13, his average open rate was greater than 30% per email sent. How many of you would like to have a 30% open rate? I know most people would. Some people talk a lot about 70%, 60%, 50%. Those numbers are imaginary, I'll be quite honest with you, once you start getting past 10,000 people on your list. It's just not going to happen. And obviously, this slide was created at a time before iOS and all the other things where there's open rates. You're not even really seeing all of the opens that are out there. So it's a metric you can only slightly trust. But at the time, they had an 18-year-old list and they were able to increase it to a 30% open rate after Clean 13. And this person, Corey Shop, says Clean 13 gave him a substantial bounce rate reduction, which we talked about in the beginning, as Jason mentioned, right? He is actually a developer who does all sorts of transactional, and 87% open rate improvement. So this was fantastic. And he actually compared us to a couple of other industry competitors that are out there. And we beat them hands down. We've had the same actual test done, which is the reason that Infusionsoft actually, we're like the one company that they'll recommend if you run into trouble there. They've tested everyone else and they find that the best results are from them. So yes, ESPs themselves, they don't want to necessarily kick off clients anymore like they did in the past. They would rather that you go and fix your problems and then come back to them. So some questions that you may be thinking about. How is Clean 13 different from those other services? So a lot of those services focus only on determining whether the emails on your list are valid or invalid. That's good. That's fine. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. Some focus only on catching spam traps. Good again. Again, one piece of the puzzle. And Clean 13 catches everything. We check for the invalids, we check for the spam traps, we check for the bots, role accounts, and much more, including dormant accounts, which is the ultimate key to deliverability at the biggest email receivers, including the one that starts with a G. So, what if we find no poisons on your list? And I hear it all the time. This doesn't apply to me. You have a small list. And I want to show you something. So, we took this list, and I'm going to make it bigger here. All right, so everyone can see this because my eyes are getting bad too. 2,800 people were on this list, right? And these are the results from Clean 13. So of those, 84% was verified, but then they had 88 undeliverable, 122 catch-alls, 32 roles, malformed, which are typos, spam traps, complainers, and bots. They had all of that. That was on a tiny list of 2,800.
Hey, Mark, how do you determine whether an email address is a spam trap or not?
Well, that's part of our proprietary algorithms, but I could tell you this. Our experience for going on 6 years of running Clean 13 has built a massive database and repository. And we can look for patterns across that, right? We have our own artificial intelligence that goes and looks for patterns and can pretty much tell it. In addition, we know pretty much everybody in the space, and we can kind of use some of our connections and our third-party data providers as well to confirm whether something that we suspect is a spam trap. Now, that's an important point. I'm glad Jason brought up, because are we right all the time? No, we're not. There is I think a statistical 0.1% false positive, right? And with that said, I encourage everyone to take this stuff with a grain of salt. But I bet you that I've had people say, I don't believe you in this. I said, well, go and take the list, pull out all the stuff we called bad and go and try to mail them and see what happens. And I can tell you it doesn't result in good things. They get kicked off. They get questioned up and down by an abuse department if they do it through an ESP, or if they try to do it through like an SMTP service, they get immediately pushed to the worst IPs you could imagine. So, which means that, how their delivery goes from what would have been good to really bad. So we're really good at identifying spam traps, and with a statistical difference plus or minus of 0.1%. And so how much does it cost? We got prices and packages for everybody. Tiniest list owner, if you've got a huge list, we can cover that as well. And since you stayed this long, I want to do something really special for you. If you know that Clean 13 is exactly what you need to draw the poisons out of your list, I want to give you this special discount coupon. So I had Jason, if you could put that link up on the screen, because I had it on here and it looks like I didn't save it.
Sure.
Jason has a special link for you, right? I want you to only go through that. Don't go through clean13.com. Go through the link that Jason will provide and choose the package that fits your needs best. And when you go to the checkout screen, enter the coupon code bigbunny. If you've been around for a while, you know who the Big Bunny is, and you'll receive 35% off of any package, right? So anything we got in there, 35% is the best packet, the best coupon that we can give, and I think you're gonna really love it. So what's all it's worth for you? Honestly, only you can answer that. I don't know what you sell or how big your list is. What I do know is that email marketing is still the number one way to market your business. And I do know that it's only going to get bigger no matter what anyone says, no matter how many social media platforms come out, no matter whether you have a YouTube channel. And matter of fact, I think that those things should all work in combination and should all drive people to your email list. And very few people are doing that correctly. So whether you got a YouTube channel, whether you got Rumble or Odyssey, or you're doing anything like that, whether you have a Facebook business page, and you're on Twitter, you're doing Twitter Spaces. I don't care whatever other methods that you're doing, drive people to a list, and then get those list poisons off them. When you pull them off your list, open rates skyrocket, leads start pouring in, and your ROI improves every time. So every second you waste keeping you down, would you rather continue with possibly poor delivery and leaving money on the table? Or would you rather join a small percentage of marketers who use this drop dead easy system and enjoy increased delivery, improved open rates, and get incredible improvements in ROI? So I will take questions from the audience. And what I will say, if you've waited this long, as we said in the beginning, for the first person to order through Jason's link and use that coupon Big Bunny, we're going to give an that consulting package worth $10,000, which is my time. It is actually what I do charge people. I'm going to work directly with you to get the best improvements that you can get from your list after using Clean 13. No matter what ESP or SMTP service, no matter what you're doing, we'll work together. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling crazy, so I will say for the first 5 people who order, I'll do the same thing, right? And you just reach out to the help desk after you place your order, tell them you were on this call, and they'll get you set up with time, and I'll arrange the time for you. So with that said,
Wow.
I'll have questions from Jason, from people here, whatever time we have left.
Wow. Thanks for that offer. I didn't even know you were going to do that.
Yeah, sure. Should I stop sharing and you want to take over, or you want to keep this up?
No, I'll keep it up so I can refer back to it. Yeah, I had a question. A lot of people, more and more people are getting into email domain warm-up services. And it's funny because all these companies, all their backgrounds is cold email, but it seems like more and more people are, oh, if it works for cold email, it might be from a different IP address, but it could help you improve your domain reputation for your domain that's sending from your ESP. What do you think about that? I have my own thoughts and I have some other expert opinions on that, but I wanted to see what you feel like. Right here, here's one service that I use. I'm a guinea pig. I like to sign up for like, oh, this works amazing. Like, oh, well, let me test it. And I literally have like a 99.9% priority inbox rating. Like only one email like went to categories, none to spam. It's been going on for like almost a month.
All right. So these services have been around for a couple of years now and continuing. And I think once GMass, which is the biggest cold email provider, got out there, got into this game a little bit, it started to get abused in a big way. They're going to be, without revealing all the secret sauce, a lot of these companies connect right to Gmail's API in the back end. And Gmail is ending that. They're sick and tired of this because basically what's happening is that they're gaming the system. They are sending nondescript messages that seem more like personal one-to-one communication, which Gmail is going to prioritize. And then it starts changing to marketing messages, which Gmail is going to deprioritize. What a lot of people need to understand first, let's back up for a second, is that Gmail's in the business of marketing themselves. When they, or Google is, I should say, And when they provide Gmail as a tool to captivate an audience, they're giving you something for free. And remember, whenever you get anything for free, you're the product. So you come to your Gmail and you are getting ads, and that's what Gmail wants you to keep coming and opening your email, sending your email, so that they can keep displaying advertiser ads to you in your Gmail. And that's why they hate people who don't use Gmail to read their email. But I digress. They um, also hate these services, and they are going to be shutting them down very soon. I don't think that those numbers are real. 94.6% inbox
Yeah,
is
baby.
it's well, okay. So if you've got that, then you could extrapolate based on those numbers that you're getting massive click-throughs to your website, right? And you're getting X results depending on whatever the call to action is. So they've got to correlate somehow. And are they?
No.
So there you go. I just think these services are
I mean, I could
gaming.
say that. I could say that I made an extra 50 grand this month, but what proof would I have? Zero,
Right.
because this is cold email. It's not warm email on my list.
Right. So these services are okay. They were okay for cold email. You're right about that. And your question about whether they would affect your ESP delivery, no, they would not. Remember, I said in the beginning that your domain has a sort of reputation, a weighted reputation within Gmail's algorithm. But once you're going through an ESP, let's say Active Campaign, for example, they give everyone a subdomain, right? The whatever.activehosted.com. It's still like that,
Yep.
right, Chase? Okay.
Yep.
So your the reputation really is the activehosted.com domain. Yes, the subdomains do stand apart, and that's why they did it. And it was certainly a brilliant move on their part as an ESP. I admire them for that because it was their way to actually differentiate each client's um, reputation. With that said, you could put this stuff through a warming service, but you're still going to be dependent on everybody else using the active hosted domain, right? And if anything, Google knows who's using these services, and they are going to um, definitely spank you hard. So the mistake that people make, especially when using an ESP like Active Campaign, is they think their domain means they're from email, right? So if I send from Mark at markgoldman.com and I've warmed up markgoldman.com and then I bring it to Active Campaign and my from email is markgoldman.com, but I'm still going out over active whatever markgoldman.activehosted.com. That's really the domain you want. And you can't actually control that when you send out through these services. So that's point number one. Point number
What
two
if
is Gmail. Good.
what if someone comes back and says, "Oh, no, I used Active Campaign settings to take care of that, and I've put in DKIM and SPF to authorize Active Campaign to send on my behalf, and the VIA Active Campaign is gone now."
I, I it's Google's not stupid. I mean, Google is the smartest company that's out there, right?
Right.
And they have mass artificial intelligence. This may work in the beginning stages, and it may work to get you to one of the tabs in the beginning. Let's forget Active Campaign for a second from the simplistic state. Let's say you're sending an email for yourself. It may work, but then it's just going to drop immediately. And they've already said, Google has already published this, they are going to spank everyone hard who does this. And I've rarely seen them make statements where they said that they hate people who game their APIs. I know this because I used to try to game their APIs for other tools that they had, right? as a good marketer, I'm not telling people that they shouldn't do those things. Of course you should. You know, marketing is a gray area. It's all about your bottom line. If you're not hurting anyone, I don't care what you're doing. When you start doing black hat stuff and, you know, using stolen things or things like that, obviously then you're doing something wrong. But if you're just trying to improve your deliverability and you were to use this and it was a great tool for that, I'm all for it. But they've already said that it's not going to happen. And the most important point in all of this is that when you use these services, they are emulating or mimicking a one-to-one conversation. The minute that changes and becomes you sending out the offer of the day, your deliverability is going to disappear. And it's not going to be easy to come back.
And a bot is not the same as someone on your list who's subscribed to your competitors, who's reading, engaging, marking as spam, different types of emails. It's just not the same.
It's not. And I've actually known some guys, really sharp Romanian developers, who were able to literally code in to their stuff, which is not commercially available. They were doing this just for themselves. They were a massive mailing operation. They were able to code in where, like, the number of seconds between a reply, and they would actually have some things that moved it to the spam folder or click this is spam, or that would unsubscribe. They were really able to emulate. And there's a tool, I'm not going to give it away here because it's something that, you know, could be used for nefarious purposes, but there's a tool where you can actually program macros and set the bot up to literally emulate just about everything that a human would do on a list. That used to work a lot better. And if anybody is interested in doing this, I would say stop trying to game Gmail and start looking at other possibly lower hanging fruit if you want to do this. But most people will just go after Gmail because it's the big 800-pound gorilla, but it's not going to work.
Would you be surprised to know that a friend I know that used to be head of deliverability for one of the biggest ESPs in the world, with the deliverability department bigger than the whole company of other ESPs. He runs a deliverability testing suite now. And I asked him about this, like, what do you think about this theory that, you use the cold email warming service and it'll actually improve your domain reputation, like when you're sending from the ESP? And he's like, that sounds good in theory. I've literally never seen actual proof. Again, people can do this and they can claim that their deliverability improved. They claim their money, but you can't eliminate everything else they're doing and say that this is what, made the improvement, according to him. And he's like, on second of that, we already know that doing this is against every single ESP's terms of service. How do I know? They've told us personally. They didn't read it in a blog. The Gmail, so long before GMAS got hit and Gmail or Google made this announcement about APIs, regardless of API, they all told my friend and his company that, no, we know about these companies. We hate them. It's against our terms of service.
Yeah. And look, they've always made it pretty clear that they are not in favor of anyone trying to game them, because it boils back down to one thing, which is, this is not a moral issue either. People think it's a moral issue, but Google has no problem with porn and pharmaceutical stuff. Whatever you think about that is irrelevant, but there are certainly people that have a moral statement about that. But this isn't that. This is about money. If you are gaming the inbox and just then using it to hammer through cold email, you become a competitor to them for their ads, right? If you're not really sending out quality content that's engaging people and keeping them in the Gmail inbox, then you are serving to drive them away, and you're only going to draw their anger. So, yeah.
Yep. And lastly, would you also be surprised that I actually got a Google Workspace rep on the phone, and I asked them specifically about this, and they said, like, literally, I wrote this down as she was talking. We do not advise using these services with the API or not. That because I asked them about a company called Blankety Blank, who who allegedly doesn't use the API, and their bots go to a Chrome browser, open up Gmail like a real person, everything's simulated real. And this rep said, "No, we know about how they do that. You're free to use it at your own risk." So I basically said, "I want to know definitively, so I could tell my clients." And then I also asked a follow up. I said, "So regardless of whether you guys catch these companies, is there a possibility that Gmail could catch one of their customers using their service and penalize the deliverability to Gmail?" She said, "Yes, we can detect whether a bot is performing actions or other suspicious activity in Gmail and associate this activity with who the sender is of the emails that the bots are interacting with. If we found a user doing this, it could affect their deliverability and Gmail could stop delivering their emails completely."
And that reputation follows you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell people this, it sounds great. It sounds awesome. And look, if you're a hardcore marketer and everything's about the bottom line, then you give it a try and try to game the system. But it's going to be something that you have to build into your business model of eventually losing deliverability, getting kicked off of ESPs, and having to constantly work and build backup streams to get you into it.
Yep. So let's go back to this offer, 35% off. How long is that good for? If they use the coupon Big Bunny at
Yeah, that's
BEM.
yeah, bemclick.com/clean35. That coupon, by the way, it's one word, Big Bunny.
Yeah, I changed that.
Cool. It's good for 7 days. Okay. And I think that should be enough time to get this out to people. I know not everyone could be live on these things. So
Also, my friend also said he mentioned the email death penalty, and I said, "What is that?" He's like, and it's funny because when I posted this in a popular forum called Nothing Held Back, there's people like, "Oh, I've never been caught," or "I've never been." He's like, "Yeah, you don't get caught till you do." And Gmail, he says specifically Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, they don't tell you got the email death penalty. It's something that they have to figure out for themselves. They basically, like, if 45 things don't work or if they ghost you, like, these are like top guys that, can get, Google Postmaster on the phone probably. And basically Gmail, Hotmail, whatever, they ghost them and stop responding about, their clients, or they literally tell them, "We don't like your client," whatever. And you get the email death penalty. And like you said before, you have to start over. So if you think
totally.
that you're not being affected, it doesn't mean you're not.
And look, it's great that I'm all for trying stuff and being innovative, and maybe but it's diminishing returns after a while, because once you do get this email death penalty, it's pretty much over, and you will have to completely they fingerprint everything about you, from your address in the bottom of your emails that goes out. You think that they've sucked all that in, and your company name, your brand, everything about you. So it really requires changing everything. You don't want to receive that.
Yep. So why don't you talk a little bit about what's the process for cleaning the list? Like, you sign up, you get your account. Now what?
Yeah, so you sign up, you get your account, you get a username and password sent to you, you log in, you have your list, hopefully in a CSV format, or if you don't have your list in that, you just simply go to your ESP and click export, right? And it'll usually give it to you in a CSV format. It's the most common one that's out there. And just go in, click add a list. We've tried to make it super simple. Upload. It will recognize immediately the email field, and we'll just scan it based on that. It takes about, I don't know, it depends on heavy traffic times of the day. It takes about 10 minutes to sometimes an hour and a half, depending on the size of the list and how busy we are. And then you get results, and you
Like on the
can,
screen?
yeah, you can view the results right on the screen. You can download a PDF report. You can sort your results as well. And the download, we try to make it like really, really. I've been working on this for a couple of, about a year or so, refining it to where you can actually start to granularize, I guess is a made up word, but I'll still use it. Get granular on your results, and um, you could choose, I don't really care about anything else. All I want is only the verified. And you could bring that down. Or you could say, I want verified and complainers. Or you could say, I want everything. I want to see everything. And then you could choose to identify the list by domain name, which is interesting because then you could go into your favorite spreadsheet and sort it by, let's say you could see how many Gmail people are on there, how many Yahoo, etc., and find insights into your list that you might not have gotten from your ESP, or you might not have gotten before, and maybe give you some ideas of what areas you need to work on and improve. Because maybe you'll go back in and look at the opens and clicks and in your ESP and sort them by domain and see where is this ESP potentially falling down. I know people who, and this is a practice that is somewhat gray area, right? But I know some people who aren't getting the best, let's say, Hotmail delivery at one ESP, or they know of an ESP where they get good Hotmail delivery. They'll bring that segment of their list over to that other ESP. And then that way, as long as you're not mailing the same list twice, which is absolute no-no, and they hate that at other providers. But if you want to bring your Hotmail stuff over to an ESP that you know is actually inboxing there, for instance, GetResponse has always been good at getting into Hotmail. Bring your Hotmail stuff over there, and you'll find just new ideas and subtle nuances of how you could improve your results. Because why would you want to keep mailing them if you have this portion of your list that wanted to be on there but isn't getting through at all? That to me seems like you should do your due diligence and find the best places to get through. So yeah, we
Can I
give you
give a tip?
insights. Huh?
Can I give a tip related to what you said?
Please, please.
Sure. So I use Clean 13 myself. Um, what I did for myself and clients, if there's some, especially I have a big list and they have a lot of complainers or something where you're just like, I'm not really sure. Like you said, you can upload it back, create a, say like for Active Campaign, you can upload all the complainers into a list, and then you can export that list again, but tell Active Campaign to include all tags. And then you can look at it offline and be like, well, wait a second, these people might be complaining a lot about my competitors who are a-holes. But man, they're my best customers. Or you could find out that like, wow, these guys are jerk offs and I don't want to be emailing them anymore.
Yeah, and that's part of the automated import stuff that we have now with Active Campaign and
Oh,
with
nice.
Infusionsoft, where you can actually retain all those tags and send them back there with our tags built in. Then,
Perfect.
run a search and segment based on that. Segmentation is actually the most underutilized part of email marketing, and it's where the most money is made.
I want
People
that
who
after we
send,
get off.
cool. People who send the small niches. It was actually Mike Hill from I can't remember what he renamed his Facebook group to, but Mike came to me and was like, "We really, really, really want this ability with Active Campaign." We built it for them, and he tested it pretty intensely, him and his team. So, yeah, it works really well. And we have the same thing with Keep Infusion. So I keep calling them Infusionsoft because I've known them for that long. But other than that, any other ESP that you've got, you could just re-import it and again pull in either the ones you want or the ones you don't, retain, and maybe pull out, because you can actually get each thing segmented within the spreadsheet. Pull those out and upload them to your ESP as different segments. And then if you doubt us, try mailing them, see what happens. Or if you want to, like maybe pull the complainers and put them on maybe another ESP or something else that you're considering trying, and or that you've got and you're not sure if it's going to be good, Try them on there and see what happens. And it could be that yes, they're complainers, but maybe they're not complainers for you because you've got awesome content, awesome products, etc.
Cool. Last question I have, guys. If you have any questions, if you're watching the replay, feel free, and I'll forward the question to Mark. There are a lot of people, like in 2013 when Gmail introduced the tabs. People started running around like a chicken with their head cut off. I had one client, and after tabs was implemented, we did their biggest launch ever at 500K. The next month we did 750K. And then the last launch I did over 1 million, and every single email landed in my promotion folder. Why do you think so many supposed experts who say they can get you out of the promo folder, why do they always go to the promo folder? And why do their customers always go to the promo folder despite their promises?
Because Gmail's smarter than them is the simplest answer. If you look at everything on that screen right now, okay, everything in there is a promotion. And it belongs, if you follow Google's philosophy here or belief, it belongs in there. And I bet you if you click on social, you're going to find everything that is related to social, your social media. So your primary tab, the function behind it was supposed to be that it was for friends, family, and things like that. To get into the primary folder means that you're probably gaming them, or that you're sending content that your subscribers actually engage with quite often. Everything in here is a sale. There's nothing of I don't want to say substance, because I love marketing. I'm a marketer, and everything with sales is substance, but it got where it belongs, and that's because Google's really good at artificial intelligence, at reading, scanning. What a lot of people don't realize is that every single email you send now is read by and scanned by an artificial intelligence bot of some sort first, right? And you could tell this by, if you doubt me there, put a hidden pixel. If you can control the HTML code of your emails, put a hidden pixel in your email, and see how many clicks you get on that. Those clicks are not going to a human. They are Gmail and Yahoo and everyone's bot clicking your stuff first and scanning it and reading it, so they really can know and learn about the messages that you send, and they're making decisions on you. So if somebody promises that they can get you out of promotions into primary, they might be able to do it for a while. But if you want to learn how to do that properly, then send more like, I'm not trying to give him a plug here, but this is somebody who just truly gets this, is Ben Settle. Ben Settle sends more conversational emails all the time. And yes, it's him conversing at you, but he sends them all the time. And there's always a call to action at the end. So I think, and nothing that he sends ever has a subject that's like Black Friday sale, that sort of thing, or anything like that. So it doesn't end up in the promotions tab. And it's really a function of writing your emails differently and creating content that is more conversational and one-to-one focused, rather than driving that consumer interaction.
Would it surprise you that the same friend that told me about that API or not, these cold warming services are against everybody's terms of service, he also told me, I said, I know how you feel about the craziness over the promo tab, but you actually offer in your seed listing service, you tell people where their placement. He's like, yeah, it's a vanity service. We know people want it. It's pretty much worthless. And here's from another seed listing service right here. They literally tell you on their sales letter, hey, just so you know, this is not the same as your actual subscribers. My friend said, he's like, yeah. And I had another friend that worked at Return Path, not lower level, like at the very top senior executive level. He's like, yeah, the seed listing services for spam, yes. Even if they're not your actual subscribers, if you're missing or going straight to spam, yeah, that's you pretty good indication you've got something to work on. He's like, but promo tab placement, no, it's worthless. Gmail will, is individual. You're not going to get a good actual read on your promo tab placement with seed listing services.
No, seed listing, and I, my former partner, who passed away last year, was probably one of the smartest guys I've ever known when it came to Gmail. He spent an inordinate amount of time studying everything about their artificial intelligence, and he was really good at moving you from the promotions tab to the primary. But 9 times out of 10, after he did all the work to get them, these his clients would always end up back in promotions. But that's because they send out promotional stuff.
Right.
It's just, see, all these other things they're nice gimmicks for a while, and they're certainly going to make the people running them some money, but it's not going to be a secret. It's not going to be a magic bullet.
Yeah, what's funny is that this Gmail promos, magic secret customer, they're literally on a live webinar saying they paid thousands of dollars for a company to get them out of the promo tab, and not only are they not in the primary tab, they're like all their emails were going to spam.
Well, they got them out of the the promo tab, right?
That's true. Yeah. Hey, we told you we're going to get you out of the promo tab, so we did it.
You're just in spam now.
Crazy. Well, that's good. Again, guys, if you have any follow-up questions, post them. I'll get them to Mark. And again, 35% off for the next 7 days. Use the coupon bigbunny at bemclick.com/clean35. That's KLEAN 35. Mark, this has been amazing. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jason.
See you guys.
Take care.